So SummerSlam kicks off. We got Triple H coming out to a packed crowd. As you can see, the stadium is jacked to the gills. More people there than AEW's biggest shows, which they lie about the attendance on, but we're not going to talk about that. Jelly Roll performs his song Liar. Everybody seemed to like it. Not my thing, but whatever. It was pretty good. And everybody was chilling in the background doing the things. Seemed like there was a lot of signs. The vibe was good, and then Miz came out amongst his people. Energy level felt pretty high. Miz has always been a traditionally good host. Hopefully they don't have him taking unnecessary bumps like usual. I want to see him get it dubbed this time. On to Mami and Liv opening match. Now they came out from the back, which is a good look. Dom holds the curtain back for her. He's a true gentleman and a scholar. Mami is basically giving a good whisper here to Dom. Maybe the last whisper ever, making it count. I'd kill to know what she says to him. I can't wait for the kayfabe interviews one day. They're extra playful today. You just know Dom is going to fuck it up today. So, they're debuting a new thing, the referee cam. That's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. And Liv's entrance is an homage to Shakira. Her hips don't lie. I have her as the odds-on favorite to win tonight. Here's something you don't see in AEW. Would it kill other companies to build storylines like this? It's the details that matter. These guys, they know where the red light is, and they're always playing up to it, which builds to the intensity of the upcoming fight. Let's fucking go! Alright, so once we're in the ring, there's a stare down, and you can see Mami lip reading, and she says, so you want to take everything that you have from me? Or I have from you, whatever the hell. And then that makes Liv Morgan retreat to the outside and towards Dom, and then Dom gets the hell away from her right away. Liv goes full Ric Flair, trying to piss Mami off, which is successful. She goes in and out of the ring multiple times, making Ripley chase her. They eventually meet in the middle, and then Ripley gives her a half and half for her troubles. And Mami licks Dom's face right in front of Liv. But both times she's done this, I've noticed that Dom has this weird look on his face, like he doesn't really like it. I don't know if that's because he's married or if this is a tell. I guess we'll know by the end of this match, but Liv's expression, however, was priceless. Ripley hits the Riptide on the turnbuckle, which, if you remember, is a callback to WrestleMania, which was the spot she used to win the match as part of a double Riptide combo. So that's actually pretty big. But unlike WrestleMania, she hesitates and wags her finger to say not yet. She wants to punish Morgan. Then she goes into the second Riptide, though, and that gives Morgan a chance to escape. Now that's excellent psychology right there, because that doesn't bury Becky Lynch. So these are little details that in other wrestling promotions, they just don't factor in, but that's what makes WWE the big leagues, the continuity of it all. So, anyway, Ripley doesn't stay on the attack. She just kind of smiles and allows Morgan to counter as she hits the turnbuckle, and then Morgan throws her shoulder first into the opposite turnbuckle, which seems to cause significant damage to her injured shoulder. And what's great is they use the correct shoulder, and they keep that up, that continuity. So, her face right here really conveys the danger and the seriousness that she's in. You can just see it in her eyes. Now, moves are one thing, but telling a story in a match is much more important. Both of them are doing an A-plus job in storytelling right now. I'm very invested in the match. Rhea is saying right now, she's saying, it's out, it's out, it's out. She's screaming at the ref at this point. And the referee backs Morgan off because apparently her shoulder's dislocated. This is something that was just done in the Ospreay MJF match, so I don't like that we're doing this too soon in the wrestling world, but most WWE fans, they're not aware of that. Now, she rolls out of the ring, goes to Dom for comfort, but his dumb ass, he don't know how to put his shoulder back in. or to probably put it in at all. You know who's been doing all the penetrating in that relationship. And of course, uh, she's hanging out by the steel steps, so the obligatory Hulk smash into the diamond shine happens right on cue. Now, Morgan throws her in the ring and works on her shoulder in the turnbuckle, which is something to note because we still have not seen the referee cam in action, so apparently this is being saved for a very particular reason, and I'm wondering if it's going to have anything to do with false finishes or pinfalls. So, does anybody else sense controversy here? Anyway, it's also interesting to note that when Morgan goes for this pinfall, it's actually Ripley's pinning move. It's really wanting to show the dominance here. Remember that Liv Morgan has the Rings of Saturn as a finisher, so she could really tear up that arm. I can't wait to see her break it out. Dueling chants start to break out in the crowd here, and it's about 50-50, but it's hard to tell in these stadium crowds. So we see our first view of the ref cam, which is actually like right on cue when I was thinking about it. Perhaps there was so much story being told early on in the match, so there was no reason to go to it because Morgan just started working on the shoulder now with some consistency. And then here you can see that Morgan went for the code breaker to the injured shoulder, but these types of moves never look good, and I don't recommend you try this at home. As you can see, there's nothing that actually makes contact, and Morgan is just taking a back bump for the sake of taking a back bump. You could argue that maybe she stretched that shoulder out, but if anything, she'd actually be putting it in, right? She'd actually be popping the shoulder back into her socket. So there's better ways to do that with an actual wrestling hold, and you are in the ring to wrestle, not to jump around. So this needs to be eliminated from everyone's repertoire, period. Rhea rolls to the outside, and then she's asking for her shoulder to be put back in. Dom takes a bullet for his Valentine as Morgan dives out of the ring, and he pushes Ripley out of the way. And then Mami gets up and says, "Oh, you want to hurt my Dom?" And then Liv says, "Bring it." "Oh, you want me to?" You know, like that angry, like she's just getting like really pissed off face, you know. And then she looks around and she pumps herself up and proceeds to apparently pop her shoulder back in by slamming it into the announce desk and then pulling it back into socket herself. You know, realistic medical knowledge aside, it looks badass, but it's not legitimate or practical. But hey, you know, we had a supernatural character called The Undertaker once, right? So this is the kind of entertainment I can let slide. We make motion pictures, baby. You know what I'm saying? So as long as it's within that realm, you know, we don't have to get too nitpicky. So then you can see Liv's face, and it was in that moment Liv knew she fucked up. Then Ripley comes back with a thrust kick, a drop kick into the corner, and then this reverse body slam / forward front drop, and then goes for the cover just to get some momentum. Now, she immediately goes for a riptide, which gets brilliantly countered into this DDT. So it was probably a little bit rushing for momentum too fast there. And then they trade some kicks back and forth between the two of them. And then Ripley does turn it around and then locks into the prism lock. And then I feel like at this point of the match, they've been going for a while. And I'm kind of thinking maybe they're going to go home. There can't be more than like 5 minutes. You know, we're already in 20 minutes. But then they did a phenomenal job dragging the first 5 minutes out. So they've really only worked 15. So it's possible they could go another 5 at a decent pace, especially if we have an outside interference swerve worked in, and we still haven't even seen the ref cam come into play. So this is tricky. This match could go on longer. It's hard to tell. They've done a good job of subverting expectations. Now, Liv counters by throwing Ripley into the turnbuckle, and then she hits this brilliant crucifix bomb. Now I gotta say, she has improved so much as a wrestler. She really is just this generation's Trish Stratus. She started off as eye candy, and then now that she's been in the romantic angles to improve her acting, she really has become a well-rounded ring worker, and she's now a serious contender against Rhea Ripley. Nobody would have thought about that one short year, after this injury. So I've gone from thinking she was a 5 of 10. Now I think she's a 9 of 10. And if anyone deserves most improved in 2024, it's Liv Morgan. And I think people were saying that about her like a year or two ago when she first won Money in the Bank. We were like, wow, she's most improved. So she's done it again, back to back. So anyway, Liv immediately tries to get an armbar on the injured arm, but Rhea Ripley maintains that S grip to block. That goes on for some time. She then counters predictably with the impressive one-handed power slam that you always see. It's not often that you see Ripley fighting from underneath in the babyface position, but she's doing it well. They are setting her up for one hell of a mega face run, like to be the female Stone Cold Steve Austin. Sorry, my voice is just going. But now Ripley decides to talk more trash to Liv, which is the second time she's made this mistake, and at least her arm getting rung on the middle rope, which lets Liv Morgan for some reason go out to grab a steel chair from the timekeeper's area. So we know that shit's about to go down because Dom's involved. And he's going to try to stop it or do something, which is going to screw everything up. So now you get the feeling like we're really going home. So this is odd. Like Ripley goes back to try to shove her shoulder into the turnbuckle to put it back in again, which I guess implies that it didn't work the first time, or somehow came out again. I don't know, but why would Liv just let that happen? Or why was this even needed? It's a bit redundant, but whatever. I mean, it doesn't help the story at this point, and I think they could have skipped it. She just ends up kicking the steel chair out of Liv's hands. If people are going to be so easily disarmed, what's the point of having a weapon? I mean, look how long Liv is just standing there doing nothing. I wish I could just have timed it, but it was a long time. It was probably 45 seconds, maybe. She just looked at her, and then so she disarms, right after that, Ripley hits the riptide pretty easily, and despite the fact that Morgan was standing there in the middle of the ring, armed, fresh as a daisy for the most part, compared to Ripley, who was just hurt and had to put her shoulder back in for the second time. This is a rare continuity error, just to let Morgan kick out and look strong. She had to look really weak and stupid in the first place to do it. It kind of defeats the purpose. So, anyway, but to my surprise, Ripley doesn't even go for the cover. She just stands over her. This could have been the dub. So this is the third mistake she's made this match. Now when she loses, she's not going to have anyone to blame but herself. Or maybe they're making it so that, she has an excuse and out. Like, see, I hit many riptides on you. I was strong. Like, I don't know. You know how that is when somebody looks that strong. You kind of feel it slipping out of her hands. Especially when she's that injured, right? They've done everything they can to make her look strong. Usually doesn't work. So, just as we're getting on this subject, Ripley goes for the chair and makes the fourth mistake. Now she's giving Morgan all the time to recover because there's no way she's going to use it or the ref's going to end up grabbing it, which will let Morgan capitalize on her finisher. And then, just as I say that, Mami tried to swing the chair, but Dom of all people grabs it. I did not see that coming. I mean, I knew he was I know he's trying to save the title shot for her, but will she understand in that moment, especially when this backfires somehow? Now he's telling her, he's making a good point here. You can't win the title like this. Pin her. For once, he's the voice of reason, and he's actually looking out for his woman. And as I said for a long time now, Dom hasn't really been doing anything wrong on an emotional level. His heart's always been with Ripley. He's becoming a sympathetic figure, but the crowd hates him so much they refuse to buy into it. And then it happens. Dropkick from Morgan, making bowling pins out of Ripley and Mysterio, and at least Dom wasn't holding the chair in such a way that it hit Ripley wrong, so it could have been worse, but it doesn't matter. Oblivion. Sure, Rhea Ripley has a kick out in her right, but then again, neither of them have been kicking out of finishers tonight. Morgan's been hit with a lot of them, but Ripley has just simply refused to cover Morgan, so it's quite possible that Ripley will stay down on this first finisher thanks to Dom. Whew, whew. So, you gotta stay strong, Mommy. We got that kick out, but you know that was probably the last one we're gonna see. Morgan hasn't had to kick out of one, so Ripley's on thin ice right now. It's definitely advantage Morgan, and once again, this will all be because of Ripley's temper, which plays directly into the very beginning of the match and how frustrated Morgan was making her. This is fantastic long-term storytelling during a match. Now, this may have been the first time anyone's ever kicked out of the Oblivion, and the stadium absolutely erupted. But at no time did anyone ever chant, "This is awesome," which just pissed me off because they do it every Raw, they do it every SmackDown show, they do it on NXT, and this was by far 10 times a better match than any of those matches got. This is an all-time classic, a masterpiece. They should have been chanting, "This is wrestling," because that's actually what it is. So I don't understand marks these days, but you can see Dominic pull Ripley to him and then throw a steel chair into the ring. So it looks like the go home spot is being set up as Dom jumps up on the apron and gets the ref's attention. And here you can kind of see it coming. Oblivion on the steel chair. And this time it's Dominic's fault, because he didn't wait to see if Mami was fully recovered. And there it is. Bam. And Mami ate a face full of steel with that one. And she took all of it and more. Liv absolutely drove her through the chair, through the mat, and into the center of the earth. She's eating hot magma, man. There is no way she's getting up from that. You can count to 1,000,000, folks. And Liv retains in a SummerSlam Classic. And let me tell you this. This was right up there with all of them. I mean, Macho versus Warrior, Taker versus Mankind, Taker versus Bret, Rock, Angle, and Triple H. The one where Angle got knocked out. HBK versus Triple H, unsanctioned match. Hogan versus HBK. There was no overselling on that one. Stop rewriting history. Mr. Perfect versus Bret. Angle and Austin. TLC 1. I think people forget that was the SummerSlam. And Bret versus the Bulldog. I gave it 4.5 stars, only because the rings of Saturn were not used, which was perfect for this match, which caused some minor continuity errors. Maybe Mami couldn't take the rings of Saturn, so that's why they faked the injury, the kayfabe shoulder out of socket. So either way, the messy finish, the lack of use of the referee cam after it was, built up pre-match, and the poor crowd interaction, it suffered from all of that. This crowd did not deserve this match at all. So, now Dom has this little smile on his face, which I thought was kind of weird, but his acting's always kind of been up. So I don't know if this is a callback to earlier when Ripley was licking his face, or he's just disappointed because he's doing that ticking thing with his teeth. And then here's just a pic of Mami, heartbroken after the match. It's weird that Dom isn't in the ring to console her, but maybe he's just afraid that she's so mad, that she doesn't want it to be near him right now. It wouldn't be the first time. So he's already halfway down the ramp at this point, which is oddly enough where Liv Morgan is, which kind of makes you think he's up to something because the positioning is wrong. So, you never know. Something could be going down. And, well, holy shit. he's helping her up. Well, it looks like Dom grew a set and is tired of being a bottom and wants to be a top. He liked getting called daddy. Plus, he's got a pretty girl that he gets to kiss, whereas Ripley wasn't willing to go that far on screen. So if you're an actor, it makes for a hell of a story, yes, but wouldn't you rather work with someone you could have a little more fun with? His wife seems to be more forgiving than Ripley's husband. So, anyways, I can't wait for that promo when they come out together on Raw. The nuclear level heat that they just got is going to be amazing. I can't remember the last time there was a couple that had that kind of heat. Because even Rusev Day, he was popular, right? Like, when has it been this... What, The Miz and his wife were this hot? No. So, and like I said, Rhea Ripley's going to be such a super face. The next Stone Cold. Like, as a woman. We've never seen that before. So, and I mean, if you thought Mami was pissed before, she is really pissed now. I don't know if this rivalry ends here, or if this is going to, be one of those generational rivalries for the next 10 years, like Hogan and Macho Man, The Rock and Stone Cold. This could be the start of something very special. I mean, let's hope so. All I know is that, like, the bloodline with Sami Zayn, got a lot of praise, and I want to give flowers to these guys right now, because we have been fortunate to get yet another home run storyline right after that storyline. The WWE is on fire right now. Creatively, oh my God, no kizzy. They are just doing it. And I don't remember so many good storylines since the Golden era. I know many of you are going to argue the Attitude Era, but the Attitude Era wasn't really about storylines as it was angles and comedy and edginess. True storylines really were in the Golden Era. It was much shorter, other than the McMahon-Austin rivalry. But that's a whole other video, and I'm not going to get into that right now. At the end of the day, we are all winners, just like Dominic Mysterio. So if you like this video, please like, share, subscribe. It takes a lot of work for me to make these videos, a lot of my time. So the channel's name is Zenix Saxzon, and find me. I do all kinds of things. I'm an ex-professional wrestler, and I am trying to give insight to show you the way these things go. So let's follow up with the one last thing that happened that was related to this, and that is Damian Priest, for some reason, was not in the Judgment Day locker room like everyone else, which signifies that he was separated, and then he had to come in and put his hands on who else but Finn Balor, who you already know is probably going to betray him tonight. And you know that JD McDonough's going to back him because they are the tag team champs. And wherever they go, Carlito's going with them because he's homeless. And that's cool with him. And since Dom has the women champion around his arm, that's power. So she's responsible for those tag champs in that room. They are more powerful together than they are apart. I don't see how Priest keeps his title from Gunther tonight, and Judgment Day 2.0, or I actually should say 3.0 because Edge was the first one. So this will be the third incarnation of JD. And then Finn ends this by saying, "Thanks for the trust," when he pats him on the shoulder, as they all leave to look for Dominic, probably to conveniently plan for the final phase of their betrayal. And can you really call it, betraying, when Damien's been saying all along he doesn't need them anymore, and they've been doing this leader thing, and Mami was doing the leader thing, and they're supposed to be equals. Like, Ripley probably didn't deserve it, but Damien sure as hell did. So, either way, you can say whatever you want. Tell me what you think in the comments about your opinions. How good was the match? Where does it rank in the top 25 matches? Is it up there? To me it is. and you tell me, who do you think should have won? Did they make the right call? Do you like this twist? I do, because it keeps her as a face, and she's in that, driver's seat, and it's just like Cody Rhodes now. Now she can fight and chase. You're gonna get one of the best heel runs in the history of the business, and one of the face runs in the history of the business, and we can resolve this at WrestleMania. And can you imagine? Think about this: Liv and Dom in Las Vegas. Oh, Dirty Dom in Vegas. They're gonna go wild. It reminds me of that Jamie Noble and Nydia. Me and my Nydia. Where they were like trash, but they would go around and try to get the best of everything, and they were just so wild and dirty. It was a great storyline. This is not the same, obviously, but they have that same vibe, and I think they're gonna do well.